Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Holly, and this is the Women's Series. And today we're going to be discussing all things trauma and your physiological health. Now, we know that there is a lot of connections between what happens to you at a psychological level and how that then manifests as a physiological problem. We see this play out in many different chronic health issues, from cancer right through to endometriosis. In fact, with endometriosis, there's a very famous research paper that looked at 69,000 women with endometriosis. And they found in that paper that over 79% of those women had sustained some form of sexual assault in their earlier life. So there's this clear connection between how trauma manifests itself in the body and how that then becomes some form of chronic health issue. There's also another famous study called the Yehuda study. And in this study, they looked at second-born generation Jewish people in the United States to those who had their grandparents and maybe their great-grandparents in the Holocaust. And what they found is that the generation born in the United States, despite never experiencing actual trauma themselves, had a higher rate of post-traumatic stress disorder than those who weren't from Jewish descent, who had grandparents that had gone through the Holocaust. So there's also this intergenerational shift that we're seeing with trauma. And just because you don't experience trauma yourself, if it's in your lineage, it can potentially present as a physiological health problem. Mark Wallen, who wrote the famous book, It Doesn't Start With You, demonstrates exactly how intergenerational traumas can have ripple effects across a vast majority of chronic health issues. And especially for people who are long-term sufferers of depression, anxiety, even things like postpartum depression and so forth. Thanks to the other book, The Body Keeps the Score, we can see how many different types of traumas there are, what types of different situations can influence trauma, and also how a dysregulated nervous system can really impact your capacity to heal. Now, in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, he offers you a wide range of techniques that you can use to help you combat a dysregulated nervous system. Or if you're experiencing PTSD, flashbacks, anything that is associated with a past trauma, this book will also allow you to better understand how to deal with that. He goes into depth with EMDR, yoga, nutrition, meditation. There's all these different techniques that allow you to better understand and become more embodied so that you can move forward with your physiological health. Finally, in this conversation around physiological health and trauma, there is this theory or idea called a blocked belief loop or a perception loop. And this is when you effectively have an unconscious thought that you think over and over again, but that thought is backed up by evidence. Maybe, as an example, your thought could be that you're never going to heal, you're never going to improve your health issue. And then when you go and work with a practitioner, that practitioner doesn't help you. And so that's the evidence. And so your belief there, your thought, is being backed up by that evidence. And when that becomes a loop that you create within yourself, we call this a belief loop. And the issue with that is that that belief then starts to dictate your thoughts, and thoughts create an emotional experience in the body, and emotions then drive behavior. So we need to be really careful that whenever we are assessing or judging what we're thinking and what's happening to us, we need to be sure that it's not actually us being stuck in a perception and or belief loop. Because a lot of the time that can get in the way of you truly growing and evolving your emotional resilience, your psychological resilience, but also improving your chronic health issue. Some questions to ask yourself if you feel like you're getting stuck in this belief loop are, what are all the negatives of having this limiting belief? What is this belief giving you? And how is it serving you? Sometimes something is serving purely by avoiding pain, not necessarily by giving you something. So asking yourselves these questions, how can you get all of the positives from this limiting belief as opposed to all of the negatives? Why don't you want to get better? Keep asking why. Keep driving into what is actually going on there, because within the why is the emotionally driven aspect of the question. What are you afraid of feeling? Understanding your belief loops and knowing what's reality and what's not is essential at ensuring that you move forward on your health journey. So hopefully that provides you with a little bit of information around how trauma can impact a physiological health issue. And one thing I would say is, if you are somebody that has a chronic health issue such as polycystic ovaries, fertility challenges, endometriosis, and despite all of your hard work, it's not improving, it's probably time to look at your psychological health, at your belief loops, at your core needs, at your limiting beliefs. You need to assess these aspects of your healing because they might be what's needed in order to get you to that 100% state. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment below. I'll see you next week.